If your 2026 goals are making you feel more exhausted than excited, you might have to start thinking about what those actual goals are. And here's the thing, you don't have to necessarily go bigger with your goals. You just might have to go deeper. Hi everyone, this is Unearth with Shelly Hughes. I'm Shelly Hughes. In this podcast, we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of building a profitable, passionate brand. We talk about the wins, losses, and especially lessons learned about what it takes to build just an amazing brand that you've always dreamt of. And I want to start with kind of a personal reflection from when I started thinking about 2026 planning in August. What I do in my planning is, and I'll go into this a little bit more in depth, but I do a self-audit framework. There are things like mind, body, spirit, blah, 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 blah. And I rate all of those different categories before I really start anything. I rate all those categories from 1 to 10. And I look at what those are and I'm able to, and sometimes I use ChatGPT for this. I'm like, hey, I'm thinking this and this. Can you help me get a score? Just someone to bounce an idea off of. And what I realized back in August is when I was looking at some of my numbers and ratings I was giving myself for this audit, is my spirituality score was really low. Not really low, but lower than everything else. Not because I didn't care, but it's not a God thing, right? But it was because I was like, why am I feeling this way? And I realized I was trying to be everything at once, right? I was trying to be a great mom, I was trying to be a great business owner, and it was really freaking hard. I have some people in my life saying this thing, and I respect all of them. And I realized that was, if the spirituality score is low, that's a problem. And so I want to let you know, like, this isn't just another hustle season goal setting episode. It's a call to make better goals instead of the big audacious ones that we make for ourselves all the time. Big goals can be really sexy, but if they're not aligned, they're going to burn you out, or they're just not going to happen at all. What if your most powerful growth this year looks like something as simple as putting your phone down or planning weekly date nights? I think in this like entrepreneurial space, we are so focused on bigger. Like, how can we, self-improvement is just better than anything. And it's funny, I have a really good friend. His name is Kenny Straub. He is the co-founder of Cork and Candles. And I watch him pursue bold, adventurous goals. And I love him for it. I was just at his house this past weekend. And he was walking around barefoot all over his yard. And I was like, Kenny. And this is a guy who does all this training. He hikes the Grand Canyon. He does these leadership retreats with Jesse Itzler. He does all this stuff, right? He even said in 2025, I wanted to go hunting because I never went hunting, and he went duck hunting, right? He just went and did it. He set a goal for himself and he did it. And I love him so much for it. And it really did inspire me because this time last year, I would say, now I love what he's doing and I'm so inspired by him. I would say this time last year, I was probably a little bit drained trying to keep up. As I was thinking about my 2025 goals, I was like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do all these big, crazy things. And what I realized this past year and in 2026 is your goals need to match your season, not your social circle. And that social circle can be social media, it can be your other entrepreneurship friends. And I talk about seasonality a lot. And you have to work with the season that you're in and the cards that you're dealt. And what's important is to stop chasing other people's version of growth in a different season than you are. It's all about anchoring to your own. And so I want to talk about this framework a little bit. I do this annual audit. I rate myself 1 to 10 in each category: physical or body, mental, emotional, spiritual, work/business, family, love/relationships, community, home, and hobbies/creativity. And I think before you start to make goals, it's really important to first pause and do a bit of an audit. Because let's say that I saw Kenny doing all these amazing things. I was like, oh, I want to run a marathon. But I really don't give a crap about running marathons. I really don't. I'm the on the mats MMA type person. right? Like true strength training. Like I'm not a runner. But when you think of Jesse Itzler and you think of all these different people, they think about, okay, what is your year defining event? And a lot of the example is like running a marathon. That could be your year defining event. Back in 2025, I ran a marathon. I could have easily written that down as a goal of mine in 2025. But again, I don't care about running a marathon. However, kind of like what Kenny does, he signs up for all these races and both mini triathlons and all this kind of stuff. And it pushes him to focus on his fitness. It would make sense to sign up for a marathon if I realized that my physicality and body score was pretty low. And I said, hey, I want something to look forward to, something I have to train for so that I'm consistent in my exercises. That makes sense. But what I think why I love rating myself is because it gives you such clarity into what you really need to work on and how can you align your goals to help with that. And here's the thing, the lowest score usually is the place you've been avoiding or maybe is just beating down in the season of your life, right? So for me, when I realized my spirituality score was on the lower end, I'm like, that's weird. I never thought that it was low. But the more I dissected it, I'm like, okay, I started a business the week I found out I was pregnant with my first son. I went through all of COVID with all that crap. I'm trying to build this thing. I had a second son. I'm like trying to balance that. This kid is still literally attached to me. I'm trying to build this while having this big 8-month belly and sign contracts with this big 8-month belly. And I was just trying to be two people at once. And I think there are people who marry those two things so well. And to be honest, I'm still perfecting that. But I think what I realized was, okay, I have to make goal. And okay, what's so funny is I had a relatively low, I can't remember what the score was last year. It might have been like hobbies, or it was hobby/creative. My creative score was pretty low last year. Because I just had my baby and I was just so linearly focused. I'm like, I have a job to do and I'm going to do it when my baby is sleeping. And I was so focused. I was not doing anything creative for myself. So what did I do? I said, okay, I am to exercise my creativity. I am going to do one interior design project per quarter in 2025. What I realized was I was still thinking in a very linear, get shit done mindset because what did I do? I gave myself a really long and hard to-do list that I had to convince my husband to help me with, right? So when I realized it wasn't my creativity score, it was more my spirituality score, I said, okay, I need to come up with a goal of mine for 2026 that helps me boost my creativity and helps me boost my kind of coming back to really understanding who I am outside of being a partner, outside of being a mom, outside of being a business owner and a founder and all the things that come with that has no outcome. And that's really hard for me because I was always a get shit done type of person. I was never like this, never painted. I never did anything like that. And what I realized that when I made that goal of having 4 interior design projects for 2025 once a quarter, it was just adding to my to-do list. It was just adding to my productivity because I had to do them anyway, right? So I'm like, no, this time around in 2026, what I really wanted to do was find a hobby or a creative outlet that really had no true outcome. I knew that I had to go somewhere else I would not do it. I had to, and it couldn't be a weekly thing. It had to be like a once a month thing. I didn't really need a babysitter for it. Maybe it was a night that my husband was home, whatever it is. I think what I realized was last year and even the year before, I was always looking at these big, audacious goals, right? I'm like, oh, I could, again, run a marathon. I could make this much money. I could do all these huge things that may or may not happen, right? And I do believe that there's a difference between a better goal and a bigger one. And your goal, my goal was to embrace creativity that really led to the idea of the interior design projects. But what I wanted to do was instead of these big audacious goal of 4 interior design projects, I wanted to create a better goal for this year, not one that really drained me. So maybe instead of a goal of launch a new product, you might have a goal of restore my weekends, put my phone down every Sunday. And sometimes those goals that don't feel audacious are going to have the biggest impact on your life, on your relationships, on your mental health. And I always talk about growth over comfort. It's one of our values. And it's growth over comfort isn't always what you think. When we think about growing, we think about being big, right? But that's not always what that means. One, it doesn't mean nonstop hustle. It means intentional, it means aligned, it means maybe discomfort. Hell, putting your phone away for an entire Sunday, for most people, it's pretty uncomfortable, right? But the benefit of doing that, I think, is sometimes for some people so much more powerful than launching a new product or running a marathon. And maybe your growth is the discipline to meditate or not check your inbox till 10 a.m. because you want to spend more intentional time with your family. So you want to drop your kid off to school every morning and have those 15 minutes of conversation and not just throw them on the bus, whatever it is. Entrepreneurs a lot of times confuse friction when things are hard with momentum. Momentum doesn't always have to be hard. And it's not all about movement being forward. It can be, okay, maybe we do have to take a step back and that's just going to propel everything we do. It might propel it forward, or it might just make us actually happy with what we're doing in the first place. So this year, in 2026, don't make goals to impress anyone. Don't make goals because you see someone on Instagram doing it. Make them to heal the parts of you that you've probably been too busy to notice. Better goals aren't about what they look like on paper, right? They aren't about having a better goal than someone else. I'm probably never going to run a marathon, and I'm pretty okay with it. They're about what they restore really in your life. So, guys, if you like this episode, I hope it was helpful. If you want to talk about more goal setting, I would love to. I'm really into that kind of stuff. So hit me up if you're into that. But if you like this episode, please send this to a friend, send this to a colleague, someone you think would benefit from it, and hope to see you next week.